So this time I went south to conquer a lengthy and pretty well-known trail in Northeast Florida. It's a great trail. I mean, look at this. Peaceful surroundings, a cool overpass to ride through, some animal friends along the way. Great tree canopy overhead. And then a train unexpectedly stops me dead in my tracks. For 10 minutes? 20 minutes? Nope. Half an hour? Nope. For nearly an hour, fellow cyclists and I were unable to cross. And that wasn't the only challenge I faced on this bike trip. I guess this video turned out to be all about overcoming the unexpected. When a bike trail gives you lemons, you make lemonade. It was just that kind of day, and it all started with a pathetic-looking waffle. I was excited about doing 30 miles on the Jacksonville-Baldwin Rail Trail, but my day began at this Jacksonville, Florida sleep in. I decided to use one of those fancy waffle maker thingamajiggies, and I don't know what went wrong exactly, but my waffle looked like it had some kind of disease or something. Fortunately, it still tasted decent. So, the Jacksonville-Baldwin Rail Trail was a former Atlantic Coast Railroad line that was abandoned by CSX in the early 1900s. It begins in Jacksonville and ends in Baldwin. That is, if you're traveling east to west. Well, that was my plan, so I started my ride on the Jacksonville side. Everything is just big in Jacksonville. 22 miles of beaches, Florida's largest seaport by volume, and the largest city by area in the United States. So, big port, big city, big beaches, and big bridges. No, I didn't say big britches. I said big bridges. Jacksonville consolidated with the rest of Duval County in 1968, effectively stretching the city limits out to 874 square miles and giving Jacksonville proper a population of almost 1 million people. Jacksonville has 57 different zip codes. Looking way back in 1901, downtown Jacksonville was ravaged by a fire that started as a kitchen fire. Spanish moss at a nearby mattress factory was quickly engulfed in flames, and the fire spread rapidly through 146 city blocks, destroyed over 2,000 buildings, left about 10,000 homeless, and killed 7 people. It was said that the glow of the flames could be seen from Savannah, Georgia. It was one of the worst disasters in Florida history. But Jacksonville rebuilt, revived, and recovered. Named after President Andrew Jackson, Jacksonville is all about beaches, banking, insurance, the military, and the Jaguars. Famous people from Jacksonville include Olympian Bob Hayes, who became an NFL Hall of Famer with the Dallas Cowboys. Charles Merrill, co-founder of Merrill Lynch. Mac Jones, New England Patriots quarterback who guided the Alabama Crimson Tide to a perfect season and a national championship in 2020. Roll Tide. And Boobie Clark, NFL fullback, who was Rookie of the Year in 1973. And now I suddenly can't stop thinking about what it would be like to go through life with a nickname like Boobie. But enough about waffles, bridges, and boobies. We've got a trail to ride. The Jacksonville-Baldwin Rail Trail. Let's go check it out.
Extremely happy, got no one to stick around.
Hey, if you're enjoying this video, please consider subscribing, or at the very least, just click on the like button. You may even want to share this video with like-minded cycling enthusiasts, or leave a comment below. I read every last comment and do my best to reply. Now, recently, as I'm taping this video, we have picked up subscriber number 2050. Yeah. But we're on our way to a goal of 2.5 million. So that's the way we roll here at Joyful Trails. We just go, it seems legit to me to go straight from 2050 to 2.5 million. I don't know. I want this channel to blow up. Well, after about 15 miles, this trail ends up in a community about as different from Jacksonville as possible. It's a small town of 1,396 Floridians, and it covers only 2.02 square miles. During the Civil War, supplies and equipment belonging to the Confederacy were stored and shipped in Baldwin. Well, the Union Army got wind of that and burned Baldwin to the ground. It was eventually rebuilt, obviously. The town's website says, quote, "A new and better Baldwin has arisen from the ashes of old." The town was incorporated in 1913. When the majority of communities in Duval County were consolidated with the city of Jacksonville in 1968, Baldwin remained partly independent. Baldwin's got a little bit of a stubborn streak. Baldwin has its own municipal government, but not its own police force. And if I'd known that, I would have driven much, much faster through town. Just kidding. There's an ammo and CB radio shop because, well, I mean, who doesn't need that? If you're like me, every time you take your CB radio in to get it worked on, you always just pick up a few spare bullets. I was in town 3 days before Christmas, and there was a nativity scene outside City Hall, which I would consider a politically incorrect move. But I like that. I mean, it takes balls these days to display the baby Jesus on government property. If you own a restaurant in Baldwin and can't decide what to name it, maybe just call it Everybody's Restaurant. Hey, it works for me. Hey, stick around to relive the Great Baldwin Rail Trail train holdup with me. Also, our star rating is coming up at the end of the video. But first, a little bit about this trail. It is described on the interwebs as a family-friendly bike path. It's a nice wide trail with smooth asphalt, taking you on a mostly straight shot ride through woodlands and wetlands. And speaking of wetlands, there's a good bit of standing water on either side of the trail, kind of murky and swampy. Another thing I noticed that was so different from where I live was the sandy creek banks. I mean, look at this. It's just pure sand. How does it hold together? How does the creek bank not just collapse? That's my question. They say there is an equestrian trail that sort of parallels the walking and biking trail, although I'll have to say I didn't really see it, but apparently horses are welcome. In fact, judging by this one sign, it would seem that horses are at the very top of the food chain, so to speak. You can see here, e-bikes yield to hikers, e-bikes yield to bicycles, bicycles yield to hikers, but everybody yields to horses. So yeah, horses are at the very top of the recreational trail power structure in Duval County, and e-bikers, you guys are just the dregs of society, I guess. You e-bikers, bless your hearts, they got y'all yielding to everybody. Oh, and there are actual speed limit signs on this trail, setting the limit at 20 miles per hour. I suppose that's for e-bikers and spandex people as well, because man, this trail is long and straight and goes for miles and miles. It is a great trail for people who just want to get in a workout. But just keep it down to 20, all right? They say you're likely to spot rabbits, hawks, kingfishers, wild turkeys, and deer on this trail. I didn't see any of those. But I did see working farm animals that belonged to local residents along the way. There are 3 main trailheads, one on the east end, one on the west end, complete with a porta potty from a company that has a sense of humor. You float 'em, we tote 'em. And the other trailhead is in the middle at Camp Milton. What's that? What is Camp Milton, you say? You've never heard of Camp Milton? Well, check this out. You can take a little side spur to the aforementioned Camp Milton, which was once used as a Civil War fortification and encampment, but has now been turned into an educational center displaying artifacts with signs everywhere explaining the historical significance. There's a historic tree grove, a replica of an 1800s farmstead, complete with buildings and a wagon. How cool is this wagon? There's the old McGirt Creek Bridge and some great boardwalks leading to Civil War earthworks. Wait, oh yeah. The biggest disappointment of the day for me was finding out that the boardwalks leading to the Civil War earthworks were closed for maintenance or repair. I hate when that happens. Oh well, just gives me an excuse to go back someday, right? But while I was there at Camp Milton, I took a bit of a break and enjoyed some Bucky's beaver nuts. Beaver droppings. Beaver nuggets. Yeah, that's what they're called. Man, these things are good. I didn't even know beavers had nuggets. Don't go away, the star rating is coming up soon, but I need to get back on the trail. One thing of which cyclists should definitely be aware is crossing traffic. This trail comes into contact with roads several times, and let me tell you something right now, these people ain't stopping, okay? They will hit you and send you to heaven right there on the spot. So obey the stop signs, or at least eyeball it and make double sure the coast is clear if you want to live to tell about it. So, on my way back to the Jacksonville side, I found that I and two other cyclists were held up by a train. There was no way of knowing exactly how long the train was. It just went on and on and on as far as we could see. This train was so long we could have listened to Freebird all the way through 3 times. Shout out to Jacksonville, by the way, birthplace of Leonard Skinner. But I digress. So it was these two spandex guys and me, and they were talking to each other about their bikes and their costumes and their helmets and their shoes and all of the things. And there I was on my trusty townie in an Alabama ball cap with a 360 camera on a 9-foot tall selfie stick. They weren't paying me any attention at all. Well, the train starts slowing down and comes to a complete stop. It's already done this one time. This is the second time the train just stops dead still. Then we realize there's a second train passing by on the other side of this train. So just then the younger of the two spandex guys starts getting really impatient, and he says, I'm just gonna take my bike and walk around the train. I'm just gonna head that way and find the end and just go around it. And the older guy, who was probably the wiser of the two, tried to talk him out of it, and he was like, I don't know if I would do that if I were you. Just then, the train starts moving again, slowly but surely, and eventually it passed us by, and our long national nightmare was over, my friends. Well, it wasn't exactly like a long national nightmare. It was more like a personal problem that was very centrally located, like right there on a bike trail in Baldwin, Florida, but you get the idea. Before my day was done, I thought I'd try Papa Sean's pizza. Ordered a slice of meat pizza. When it got to the table, it looked to me like it was 2 slices, but I was not complaining. I can highly recommend Papa Sean's Pizza in Baldwin, Florida. In 1859, the first telegraph line was built from Jacksonville to Baldwin. No need for telegrams anymore. Today, it's a rail trail. that connects these two vastly different communities in Duval County, Florida. There's no great bells and whistles here, no fancy artwork or iconic bridges, and it's not especially scenic. But it's a great trail for exercise and overall a fun and pleasant way to spend a day. Three stars for the Jacksonville-Baldwin Rail Trail in Northeast Florida.